And there we go, once again, Dinh-Kha making his way, making his entrance into another top 8 of a YCS. Familiar ground, of course, for him, but once again, and also still as per usual, he has done it once more with a very creative strategy. Fire King without any additions, no Snake Eye, no nothing, no Azamina, just the pure essence. Basically a couple of structure decks combined with adding the Okanix and some other hand interactions. And there is a Fuval as well right away on the normal summon of Okanix.
But I am not too sure if that is actually what you want to do versus this, because if Ulcanix activates, you're going to search out Garunix to the hand and then special summon it. And also, Dinh-Kha's deck is not at this point known for making too big of combo in the first turn.
This is exactly what Dinh-Kha told me at the interview on day one, that he doesn't care a lot about Fuvalos, he just wants to establish a very minimalistic field and just control his opponent with Skyburn mostly.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know whether Thomas is too familiar with what Dinh-Kha is doing. Honestly, none of us before this weekend were familiar with what Dinh-Kha is doing this weekend. But honestly, with the strategy that Dinh-Kha is going for, which we also saw on the day one feature, I think it might actually be correct to hold the Molchami Fullers for your own turn, as this is where Dinh-Kha then eventually starts going into the extra deck with, we just see it, the Fire King Sanctuary being able to then exceed summon on the opponent's turn, which is one of his main interactions with the opponent. But there is Ash Blossom and Joy Spring now for Fire King Island as well. Honestly, Dinh-Kha must be happy with this. He's trading through the cards in hand from Thomas, so this doesn't look too bad, to be honest. He has a set card. He has 2 set cards even here.
A very huge start. And honestly, Thomas might have been better off just ashing the Ulcanix, because this is the best starter for the deck, of course, in combination with the Ponix as well. 3 monsters on the field doesn't look like much, but this is what Dinh-Kha is going for. And at this point, we're seeing an Aggregator, and Aggregator is targeting the Sanctuary, which is a very, very good play, because there are no 2 level 8 monsters yet. However,
they are. Ulcanix, of course, changed its own level, and we do have the ability to just chain the Sanctuary, making sure that the Eternity hits the field here.
I didn't see that one coming.
Yep, now you know. Dinh-Kha has his own tools, and he's going to use the on-summon effect, destroying not only the X on the opponent's side of the field, but also the Ponix on his own side of the field.
Saw this being special summoned in there as well. Dinh-Kha still has some cards left there. Also, what is the Garunix effect if it gets destroyed?
It can bring back 2 Fire King monsters from the graveyard, Leo. It could technically even bring back itself, as far as I'm aware. Then, of course, not being able to trigger its effect, but still.
I think it's not it's up to the material that it has when it's sent to the graveyard.
Oh yeah, true. Not necessarily 2, you're right. For the moment, it would be 2, because there are 2 on it, but you are certainly correct. But Thomas, for the moment, gets going still, and Dinh-Kha was forced to use that Garunix Eternity High-Ang of the Fire Kings early on, and of course he only got to destroy 1 monster with the X-Rizia, therefore Thomas may actually be fine with the situation right now. This does not look too amazing, but Dinh-Kha has the Skyburn as well, now going to target the Garunix Eternity and the Node. So if Thomas does not destroy the Garunix, Dinh-Kha may as well do it himself.
So now that Skyburn has destroyed the Garunix, he can also use the Garunix from the graveyard, or did it have to... Does the other Garunix, the main deck Garunix, have to be in the graveyard before the monster is destroyed?
We are going to find out. I mean, we can just summon out the Garunix through the effect of... Yeah, we can just summon it out through the effect of the other Garunix. Okay, we do summon out the Kirin here, though. Now, Ulcanix effect. Oh, Ulcanix is just going to make sure to destroy the Kirin, which is then going to trigger the Kirin in the graveyard. So, on the first look, it looked a little bit, honestly, not too obvious to just go after one of those random Rizia monsters on the field. But as we can see, Dinh-Kha will make sure here to destroy not 1, but 2 Rizia monsters, leaving Thomas with only 1 level 4 monster on the field.
And those aren't Zodiac monsters. You need 2 monsters to exceed summon, even if that is not too much to ask for in the Rizia deck. Sometimes it can become problematic. to get into two monsters, especially if everything you do gets popped by Dinh-Kha Bui.
Yeah, and honestly, equally Dinh-Kha Bui, but also Thomas, have taken an approach here into the tournament, which is just going to counter the Fiendster strategies. They did not really necessarily care about Bystials and so on and so forth, and that approach in general for this tournament seems to be the way to go. When we look at our top 8 players, we do have triple tactic talents here, though.
Probably to take Arvata.
You think? I think we need some fresh cards in hand here, honestly. On the other hand, you're right. We could have gotten a level 4 with it.
It's level 4.
Yeah, but we do draw with it. There we go. We have created so many interactions there from Dinh-Kha Bui. There is now a bonfire. Okay, Thomas keeps on running, keeps on going.
I would have loved the take of Arvata, because that's one less interaction, and yes, you're right, another level 4 monster.
Very much so. Thomas does go for Ice Ryziel. Have we not Norman summoned yet?
I think we have. You just
says
need to
special.
send a card. Yeah, and Metal Tronus is another card that is absolutely neglected by Fire King. You can't use it at all, basically. I mean, there have to be some targets, because the cards are fire, because Sword is fire and Node is fire. There will be something that has
possibly,
some, attack, maybe.
What's the attack for Arvata?
1/8. So that one's out of the cards here. So we go into a level 4 now.
We did manage to get that far. Which one is it going to be, though? Because
Does he play plugin?
he does play plugin, yeah, he does. He's on a more pure version, but we do just go for Ryziel Detonator. And one problem with Ryziel Detonator, honestly, is it is destroying cards, and that's what Dinh-Kha does even to himself. He's destroying his own monsters on purpose, so he may not be too sad about Thomas helping him with that plan. One thing to consider, though, of course, though, he might destroy the Fire King Island, and that may just at some point, well-timed, take away Dinh-Kha Bui's entire monster lineup on the field.
And Sanctuary is still negated from Aggregator.
True, so it can't protect even, you're right.
True, but Dinh-Kha Bui needs to first activate a card to make that happen. Sanctuary is going to only be negated until the end of the turn from Aggregator, so it's going to be live just in the next turn again, where Dinh-Kha might want to activate card. Now Arvata is destroyed, but activating effects in the damage step is fine versus Detonator.
That is indeed true. So Dinh-Kha can now think the Garunix that earlier on we were not able to activate is now ready to activate, and there we go, activating the Garunix. There's so many Garunixes in this deck, right? It's hard to separate them, but this is of course the Sacred Fire King Garunix, which now is going to activate. Basically the cover monster of the structure deck, which was not released too long ago. And it is going to destroy another Garunix. There's the third one of them. This is the Fire King High Avatar Garunix.
And this is OG Fire King stuff now, because this card, when it was destroyed, it's going to return to the field in the standby phase via special summon and just dark hole the field.
And just one more sad card and will be passed over to Dinh-Kha Bui. And honestly, this situation probably pretty familiar to him, as he has played plenty of Ryziel decks in this tournament. But this turn going back to him, I feel like with the Fire King decks, you kind of are scared that your opponent is going quick on you and just like running over you on the first turn that they have. But as soon as you get into that grind game, those Fire King cards, they are so recursive. We just see the Ponix going back to the hand, Garunix every single turn also coming back. It's just so repetitive and so nice. So as longer the game goes, the happier Dinh-Kha Bui is. We're chaining the Detonator now to the graveyard effect of Ponix.
I think we're trying to get rid of the Sanctuary, exactly, so that we can later on take care of the Fire King Island, which is possibly a weak spot for the deck. That's how it has been looked at in the past few years.
I mean, but now Dinh-Kha Bui is just on purpose trying to destroy every monster on the field anyways. So we may have to see whether that's too much of a problem for him. And now Thomas doesn't even know what he's going to target with the Detonator, because all those monsters are going to be destroyed anyways, except
I think
the
you're
Garunix.
going for the back row, huh?
Probably, yeah, I would assume so too.
And then afterwards, your Detonator might get destroyed, or you protect it, detach the Aggregator, and then you take the Fire King Island.
Possibly not even the worst situation for Thomas here. And Dinh-Kha Bui is really thinking about it.
It's also only the standby phase. So not a lot has happened here for Dinh-Kha Bui so far. So I think might also not be the worst situation for him here, because I have seen him play before, and he actually has quite some link plays. Something like a Heater is also very strong versus Ryziel, because there is Sword, there is Node.
And Princess, actually.
Yeah, true. Prince is also very strong.
And I want to see if he's into Salamangreat Raging Winds.
Look at that,
we have
though.
secret effects.
We're protecting our Fire King card there with the effect of Fire King Skyburn by banishing it from the graveyard. This is, Leo, like similar to one of your favorite cards, of course, similar to Celebrate Balings, but this one is for Fire King cards. And we do now trigger the effect of Garunix as well. This is getting more and more. As I've been saying, this is somewhat snowballing, and we do, in the process, contrarian to other decks in the format, get pretty big attack points onto the field. We early on debated on how Ryziel decks can struggle to close out games quickly, but Dinh-Kha is summoning monsters with massive attack points in the standby phase already, basically, and he has no problem closing out games easy. And Thomas sees that, and Dinh-Kha takes down game number 1, and Fire King is up 1 game and in the lead. Is he just going to do it again?
And I'm going to say it. The Kirin is one of the best removals that we have. It is so flexible. It can be popped at any time, and it is non-targeting removal. That is so good. Sometimes it's even underestimated. But if you are able to destroy a card of your opponent doesn't know which card you want to destroy, you can get extra information out. It's such a good strategy.
And also summons a body, which is very important.
Yeah, the Arvata as well. If you want to, then you have another negate. You can play around hand traps with it. It is so strong.
It's absolutely amazing. Funny story, I was out on the floor and someone approached me and asked me, is it true that Dinh-Kha is just playing free structure decks in this event? And I was like, almost. There's a couple of cards added to it, for example, the Okanix and a couple more, like Molchavi Fuvalos and stuff. But still, it is actually in its core almost that, which is pretty insane to see.
Yeah, but it's also something that nobody has seen coming. Let's be honest. I mean, before the tournament, you told me, hey, I played versus Dinh-Kha at locals. He was playing Fire King. That makes no sense. The deck doesn't do anything. And here he is, leading 1 game in top 8 of YCS Birmingham. And we just saw what the deck does.
Yeah.
It threatens a field wipe, Skyburn, and just endless resources, really.
We said it does very little on its first turn, but the setup is still pretty good. It does do quite well on the opponent's turn then, so he's actually playing more on the opponent's turn than on his own turn.
It profits really heavily from the fact that there's very few OTK decks in the format right now.
And also, as we just experienced, he just established a field with 3 summons, so it is protected from Nibiru, and of course Fuvalos, since I didn't think that he even gave a draw.
0. Zero draws for that Fuvalos, and I agree with you, Leo. I think the Ash Blossom and Joy Spring on Okanix could have been huge. Wasn't used that way though. We have another game to see though. Thomas can come back into this, of course. Players are ready. I hope everyone at home is as well. So we go back over to the table. Game 2 starting now.
Right, here we go, and perhaps this is something that Thomas needs to adapt to. Seeing in game 1, okay, the Fuvalos made no sense there. Dinh-Kha is just very fine with not summoning anything from the extra deck, so I have to keep this card in hand if I was to go second, which is obviously not the case in this one. Normal summon Ice Ryziel. That's basically what you want to do every single time. Maybe you can argue for an X start being a little bit better for the Ryziel deck, but now we start off with the Ice Ryziel. Impermanence could be crucial here, and Axed is there as well, basically negating the impermanence already.
And if you looked into the face cam of Dinh-Kha, you saw him nodding his head, kind of being like, I was hoping the impermanence would just possibly stop their turn, but no, there was Axed right away.
So actually, since you don't know if your opponent is into Fiendsmith or not, it's very good to impermanence Ice, since they cannot access Moon and go to Fiendsmith place.
That's true, absolutely. What is next here on the menu for Thomas? Okay, we do see there's a second Duo Drive come in, and Duo Drive attaches Duo Drive. That's the way to go here. And Dinh-Kha, does he have another way to stop Duo Drive now too? Oh, he has Ash Blossom and Joy Spring as well. Thomas just doesn't get going, really.
I like the send of, triple tactic talents in there as well. Looks at the end, there is Nibiru. He played around Nibiru previously by sending the Duo Drive to the graveyard and attaching that with Duo Drive having 1 material after using the effect and when you get cross. But now he just takes away the Nibiru. There is still an Effect Veiler and a Garunix. And honestly, this hand doesn't play for Dinh-Kha. So he needs to find an answer or anything progressive in the next turn. And now Thomas knows there's only Effect Veiler I have to play through. Oh, goes for the Ryziel Sword. Has everything in hand. Sometimes you think, oh, I don't want to have too much engine in hand. My deck plays with 1 starter card. But if there are 2 hand traps thrown at you and you have all the engine, that's great for you.
For sure, especially when you can also back it up by triple tactic talents. Thomas now with perfect information, knowing Dinh-Kha Bui doesn't have much more here.
Wait.
And it is still
Oh, he has to
continuing.
use ice, yeah.
Yes.
He needs ice to send duo drive or another card from hand and then try to go into the detonator.
And the good thing about Detonator is it just really does not care about the Effect Veiler. Okay, we do discard the Fuvalas. Okay, we kept it in going first. So maybe an indicator for Crossout Designator indeed.
And I really like keeping the duo drive on the field. Oh, Abyss Dweller, of course. How do you beat fire? You use water there.
That's possibly the plan. Going over to Dinh-Kha Bui, we know 2 out of 3 cards in hand. Thomas immediately in the draw phase wants to activate the Abyss Dweller. And now the question, does Dinh-Kha Bui have a play that he can use?
So the thing is, if you draw into a fire monster, you can just crash it and summon the Garunix from hand, gain the attack push and run over duo drive and have your opponent sit there at nothing. But that requires the draw of a fire monster, so you can go for Sacred Fire King Garunix effect.
I mean, you could technically normal summon Effect Veiler, go into Almirage and send the Almirage into something else, having some ideas here, but I don't know whether that's going to be the case. I mean, Typhon could also work, right? That's also not the worst card to summon. Just for one Effect Veiler, Dinh-Kha did not use it, kept it in hand.
I feel like the Dweller didn't play around the cards that Dinh-Kha has in hand.
Yeah, I mean, he's like playing around the theoretical cards. Oh, we did draw into the Kirin, though, and there is a mild applause going through the venue because the viewers in the venues think that this might be good, and we do destroy the Garunix.
Wait, you just run over Dweller and you have still the Effect Veiler in hand. Oh no, we go into Charmer plays? I thought you just attack over Dweller and then you have the Effect Veiler for duo drive and hope that your opponent doesn't draw anything.
I think we go for Hita. There is Hita and there is fire monsters in the graveyard. We may not be able to activate effects in the graveyard, but we may as well take monsters from our opponent's graveyard. In that case, we take Sword Ryziel, immediately linking it off for a card that was seen so much during the last year, but it is back. It is the Promethean Princess, which gets Veilered, and I think, is that a scoop from Din? No. But he does, of course, get stopped here majorly by that Effect Veiler from Thomas.
He has no card left, right?
But he does still have the Typhon option, of course.
You cannot summon Typhon.
It's negated.
Oh, it's negated, yeah. You're correct.
Oh, wait, you're right.
Well, that solves that problem. Attack. Oh, banish, That's very smart to bounce the duo drive immediately and then attack over Dweller because you have 400 more damage, just saying.
Honestly, how many more cards does Thomas have in hand? There is not that much left, is it? I don't think he has plenty of options remaining. So, Dinh-Kha Bui, 0 cards in hand, but Thomas does not have that many either. So let's see, that's a top deck that's going to be super important for him.
There is a lot of engine already used by Thomas. The deck doesn't have too many cards to play with. So I think he's basically at like 8 top decks.
Let's see, Thomas looking at his graveyard. The Fiends of Orions are so good at having that. Oh, we do have Metaltronus for a Typhon. Look at this.
There is the target.
What are we going to bring out? We're going to bring out what is going on here. I have not seen this card in a while. Number 80, Rhapsody in Berserk is being summoned.
For his own
and we do go for his own Typhon. What is happening? Typhon on Typhon. Game by game, step by step, top deck by top deck. Dinh-Kha Bui's turn it is. What is he drawing though?
Oh,
he got the pot of extravagance. There is no way.
That is a destiny draw. Pot of Greed has returned to the field. Is going to net him 2 cards because frankly he doesn't really need the extra deck too much. You can give away 6 of those cards at
He only
random.
needs a fire monster at the time.
What are we going to get?
Any monster that can go into Almirage.
Oh, and he's nodding. He's nodding.
No
he
way.
has the Alchemax. Fire Kings are still back. We
he's
can
just
use.
crashing.
Oh,
He's
we
crashing.
just crash it in.
So many effects now as well.
My.
But does Typhon come in handy? How does Garunix work? Do you need to get the attack? Because if you get the attack immediately of the monster that was crashed...
He still activates.
Okay, good.
Okay, so we have to see here. We bring out the Garunix, and the other Garunix is just immediately joining, of course. And I think we do destroy and then gain the attack. So it's actually perfect against the Typhon.
All right, yeah, it gains the attack of the monster that it destroys from the deck, not the monster that was destroyed. And
Exactly.
Indeed. We destroy Kirin. Look at that.
So big.
We literally got the Pot of Greed for turn. The modern version of it, essentially. Pot of Extravagance. Kirin is also there to help. This is not real out here.
Ulcanix pops the Garunix that was just summoned at Ponix. Ponix triggers immediately, gets the Skyburn set up as well. We don't even need Sanctuary into the Fire King Island. Ponix activates. Of course he's playing 3 Garunix in the extra deck if he plays Pot of Extravagance. That was so big for him here. Attacks now for a little bit of damage. Thomas is sitting there. He needs the Destiny draw now as well. Possibly a Pot of Desires and then leave with all the engine in the deck. But this is looking so strong for
That would be the answer now, right? Dinh-Kha with the Pot of Extravagance. It would only be fair if now Thomas gets his copy of Pot of Desires on the upper hand.
Yep, Thomas is waiting for his turn to start. We're still calculating the damage. Something is being discussed right here. Yep, we're discussing the damage. Yep, and now Ulcanix is attacking as well. Garunix is also attacking. Yeah, of course, we have popped the Typhon with the Kirin effect from the graveyard.
Yeah.
So
totally.
A lot of damage has been applied already. And Dinh-Kha, I think he searched for the Skyburn, right?
Yes,
so,
he did.
And that card is so good right now because it can pop multiple cards at once.
And also Princess is in the graveyard, which is very handy.
Yep. Oh, Princess is another interruption as well. You're absolutely right.
It just doesn't stop.
Keep in mind, Garunix, does it only return on the own standby phase? Because Garunix was popped by Ulcanix. Set 2 cards is so incredibly good.
No, it does return on the opponent's turn as well. There it is. Garunix will come back. And Garunix eliminating all those monsters, which is hilarious. But it's certainly not hurting Dinh-Kha too much.
Classic
but what did Thomas draw?
And that is the
It is the handshake.
Thomas forfeits the game because Dinh-Kha Fire Kings are just so good in these grind games. There is no way to remove them properly. The deck can hang on to any kind of threat. This is a masterclass once again from Dinh-Kha.
It is burning hot here in Birmingham, and we do have that Fire King deck in top 4, and I still don't understand the words, but I'm saying, who would have expected that? Who would have thought that? Once again, and I mean the last time Dinh-Kha won a YCS, he did it with a deck that no one expected either. Back in the day, we all remember, of course, the Prank Kids masterclass display there, and this time he chose a deck that is equally as surprising, but maybe even stronger than the Prank Kids deck.
Do you think that he actually found the solution to this format?
It looks like it. I mean, the solution to the format from multiple players already, and if you look at top 8, this will be absolutely proven, was to not run anything that can get bestialed. That was, I think, the most important part. Then the next step is to also not run anything that can get Metaltronist, which Rhapsody in Berserk just also proved wrong here because it was an out to the Typhon. But still, just play around every card that is not an engine card because the Ryziel engine, hear me out, does not do as much as other engines in the game have. If you compare it to something like Telements or Snake Eye. Normal Summon Snake Eye Ash was a lot more than just a Detonator. Don't get me wrong, Detonator is a fantastic card. It is really, really strong and is cool looking. But that it's not winning games on its own most of the time.
And I think you already, we're kind of teasing it. The strategies that are disregarding Bestials are really taking over, and they're really going strong in this tournament. I think we may as well treat the viewers at home with giving a little top 8 breakdown in terms of decks, what we have, because this top 8 breakdown is pretty interesting, as we do have 3 of those pure Ryziel decks. One of them just got eliminated, so it will at least be one less in top 4 than obviously the Fire King deck we just saw from Dinh-Kha. And then some interesting stuff joining that. We do have another Mermaid still in competition, another Mermaid top 8 run as we had in Bologna. And then also, we saw it on feature in top 16, of course, White Forest. Who would have expected such a diversity? And joining and closing out 2 Melis decks also still left in competition.
I will try and call it now, final Water versus Fire.
Oh, that would be incredibly cool. But also, in top 16, there were still 3 or 4 Memento decks.
3,
They all lost there?
It actually is true. My heart broke when I saw it. One of them was eliminated by Dinh-Kha himself. But still, massively strong display by the Memento deck, making it even with 3 players into the top 16, almost having 25% representation there, but then sadly all of them losing out.
Yeah, that was a strong showing by all of those decks that do not lose to Bestias, and that means, wait, top 8. How many Fiendsmith cards are there?
0. None of those players is running the Fiendsmith cards. They have been ruling, they have been winning, but they have not made their way into the top 8 here, which is a crazy thing to see, because literally the last 2 YCSs, both YCS Anaheim and YCS Orlando, were both won by Fiendsmith Ryziel, and so the Europeans took it as a task, took it as a puzzle to solve, be like, hey, how do we overcome those Fiendsmith cards?
and they found a solution.
Also, go back in time a little bit more. Before that, it was Ubel Fiendsmith, and then it was Snake Eye Fiendsmith, and then it was Snake Eye Fiendsmith, and then it was
Kashtira
Snake Eye
Fiendsmith.
Fiendsmith. Kashtira
So you
Fiendsmith.
think that Europeans are actually good at rogue decks, or they just prepare to go and counter the meta?
I think they're just really good at adjusting. I think we have
Yeah.
some very, very creative deck builders, and they are always very good at actually going in and finding the right decision for a very specific event. Because as a deck builder, for the people at home, you gotta realize it's cool to build a deck for like an event. For like a couple of weeks that you want to play as a fun deck. But when you have one event in front of you, you need to make every single decision correctly, adjusting to the format that you have that weekend. So you got to make sure that every decision is on point. And I think Europeans are actually really good with that.
If you want to win. If you just want to go there for a good time with your favorite deck, then of course you can do that as well and have some incredible results, because we have also seen that in the past where players just had their pet decks and they performed really, really well. But we have talked a lot about creative decks. Let's hear it from the master of creative decks. Let's go over to Marcello and Dinh-Kha.
Thank you, Leo. And yes, I'm here with the master indeed, the Dinh-Kha. I'm speechless. What more can we say about you? Congrats. And yeah, you can hear a very deserved applause from the crowd. You are officially one of our first top 4 contestants for YCS Birmingham. How are you feeling?
I'm super hyped.
Yes, as you should.
Yeah. To be honest, I didn't expect to do that good. I don't know how I did it, but I did.
Absolutely. I mean, we love an humble king, and I gotta say, as soon as I was watching the match backstage, I had a bit of, a trip down to the past, because I remember vividly back in YCS Milan where you had your first huge success with Prank Kids. I'm not even sure if you remember this, but after you won, I got to interview you and do some sort of deck profile officially for Konami. And I remember, you told me something along the line of, I'm excited to get interviewed by you. I gotta admit, now I am the one who is excited to take an interview. The tables really have turned, and you're absolutely one of my favorite players, and you keep on showing your creativity. So how do you do it?
I don't know. I just play the decks I like, and I somehow get there. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So let's see just what happened in this top 8 matches. So let's bring up the first clip, which was essentially you navigating through that Fuvalos and Ash. Is the ability of just playing around Fuvalos one of the main reasons why you brought the deck?
Yes, for sure. This deck is probably immune to Fuvalos. It's sometimes an upstart goblin, sometimes, but it's not that great against this kind of deck.
Yeah, absolutely. And just in the second clip right after, you showed also that maybe your opponent was not too familiar with the deck. He tried to make this play with, the Ext and then negating the Sanctuary, but I mean, you already had the setup.
Yeah, I mean, he had to force it out now, so I only blow up one body. So that was well played by him, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is usually what you want to end up on when you get stopped by Fuvalos?
Yes. 2 level 8.
Yes, 2 level 8,
that's all
and then
you need.
also quick spell face down ready just in case. I think then we transition into kind of a weird part of the match, because triple tactic talents became the crucial part of the end of game 1 and the start of game 2, and for different reasons. I think we can show the first instance in the next clip, which is your opponent had a big decision. So let's bring up the next clip to analyze. So here, we were thinking whether there was a chance to actually steal the Arvata and proceed. So what were you thinking in this moment?
I expected him to steal the Arvata to take out the negate, but he wanted to end on Detonator, which is also fair enough, because every other monster gets outed pretty fast. I mean, even Dweller, the set card is probably an Imperm, so he needed to respect the Imperm, and Detonator is the best out, I think, against that.
Yeah, he tried just to go for the draw. In the end, as we could see later on, you were just able to completely come up with a comeback in the next turn, and that wasn't quite enough. But then we moved to the side decks, and game 2 starts. And well, what a game that was. Things were looking rough.
Top deck raw.
Yes, we can see the next clip, just the start of what looked like a dominating game, because you had some answers, but this talent happened, and yeah, the end was rough from you.
Yeah.
As we could see, obviously, here this time around, he was able to take out one of the additional pieces. And then I think we get into one of my favorite sequences, because that was some wild Yu-Gi-Oh! And I think I've kind of put together a minute that we can go through and just, commentate briefly on what happened. It was the Typhon War, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's Yu-Gi-Oh! About, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Trading with resources and going to grind games, which doesn't happen a lot nowadays.
Yeah, and here we see the first of the top decks, which was from Thomas. This Metaltronus is probably trying to figure out what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, that was fine, I guess. I mean, every engine piece would have been better, of course, but it's an okay top deck, I think.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, it's definitely gets the bonus points for style, summoning out of the action deck.
Yeah, for sure.
And then going Typhon into Typhon, but I think your top deck was a little bit better.
That's true.
I mean, as we could see just from moments now on, the Pot of Extravagance was there, and I mean, it's one of the reasons why you build your deck for it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's a control deck, and I don't care too much about the extra deck, so Extrav is a nice bonus to get a +1 and the consistency. But to be honest, I had a lot of top decks. Any normal summon is a top deck, any Fire King monster, any hand trip to normal summon, because I can go into Army Rush, crash into his Typhon and trigger Runics, and then that's basically a game over.
Absolutely, but it was obviously fun to just witness this ending of a match and just witness you in yet another semi-final. Hopefully, you'll get another shot at the title, but to do so, we'll see what decks you have to play against. We are hyping up a possible, not sure if top 4 or final, fire against water matchup. There is still a mermaid, so that would be cool to just witness. But again, Dinh-Kha, really, honestly, true congratulations. You keep on surprising us and entertain us. So we really wish you best of luck for the rest of this event. And thank you guys for being with us for the top 8. But there is yet again another reveal from Quarter Century Stampede. So let's find out what it is.